Oh, welcome back to the show. I'm Dan Edwards, managing broker of the Eastside Real Estate Team, and you're listening to Seattle's Eastside Real Estate Podcast. And we are joined again by our good friend, Tucker Maxwell. Tucker, where'd you go last week?
I went to Arizona to get some sunshine.
There you go, to get some sunshine. A little vacation. Did you do anything fun?
I did. I played 5 rounds of golf, which was fantastic. And
Five?
are you familiar with Phoenix at all?
Oh, yeah.
I did the Verado stairs, which is
Yeah.
it's a hike, like 300 and something stairs. And so the family that I was staying with challenged me to how many sets of stairs can I do in 30 minutes?
Okay. And
I completed 4 sets of stairs in about 22 minutes and then gave up.
oh, you were done.
Yeah, and I felt it for a few days afterward.
Yeah, that was stupid. Why'd you do that?
When a challenge is presented, we go after it.
So my mother-in-law lives in that neighborhood in Buckeye.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So did you play Victory?
No, we were in Pebble Creek, so we played the Pebble Creek, Eagles Nest, and Tuscany Falls West and East.
Okay, so those 3 courses you played 5 rounds.
Yep.
How'd you shoot?
Pretty good. High 80s.
Wow, impressive. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, okay, our listeners are like, why are you guys talking about that? Anyways, vacation homes. Well, it's kind of along the lines of our topic today because, there is a very high percentage of snowbirds, people that have second homes. Heck, one of our other guests, former colleague, is planning on moving down to Phoenix, Arizona. So let's talk about second homes. What is from a lender's standpoint, what is the definition of a second home?
Yeah, so it's essentially a second primary residence. So it's a home where you plan to spend some time there, not necessarily as your primary residence, not the address that you're going to file taxes to or anything like that, but it is a property that you are going to spend some time in throughout the year, and possibly share it with family and friends as well. But there are some key components to it being a second home specifically.
Okay, it's not the same thing as a vacation home.
It can be. It definitely can be. I think where the confusion comes in is, the location of this home. Second homes don't necessarily have to be in a vacation destination. We live here on Seattle's east side, but we could have a vacation home in Vancouver, Washington, if we wanted. If that's a place that you vacation to see family, it's not typically a place we think of as a vacation destination. But if that's where you want to have a second home, you can have one there.
So what are the benefits of a second home versus an investment property?
Yeah, so first, we allow less down payment. So you can get into a second home with as little as 10% down. And so the barrier to entrance is less there from a cash to close perspective. Secondly, the interest rate is much better than an investment property. And so you're getting a break on your initial investment plus the interest that you're charged on this loan.
Can you rent out the second home on a short-term basis, long-term?
Yeah, that's the big question today is with the prevalence of Airbnbs, VRBOs, and the ability to short-term rent it. Why not take advantage of that when you're here on the east side, enjoying the sunshine here? You're not in Phoenix when it's 110 degrees. So can I rent it out, or vice versa? I want to be here skiing in the winter, and so can I rent my property out in Arizona in the winter months to snowbirds? The answer is yes. Technically, you can rent it out. You just need to be careful when you are buying a second home. Really, you're buying it to use the property, and you could run into a situation where questions are asked if it's quickly becomes an investment property, and we see that on your tax return. But every state has specific rules, laws, regulations around how many days a second home needs to be occupied by the owner for it to be considered a second home. And it's pretty minimal, like 10 days, a week. It depends on the state. And as long as you don't rent it out for the entire 365-day term of the year, it perfectly satisfies the requirement to be a second home and still have the ability to rent it out.
Okay. What about buying a second home that's near your primary residence?
Yeah, so this is another question we get often is there like how far away does a vacation home need to be in order for it to be considered a vacation or a second home? And really that's going to come down to the underwriter. It needs to make sense, Dan. But usually you're talking 50 to 100 miles away. But it could make sense too as well. Like if we have a home here on Seattle's east side and somebody owns a property on the Puget Sound over in Island County, we may not be outside of 100 miles, but that could be considered a vacation home and a vacation destination. Friday Harbor is not somewhere where you and I live, but we could have a vacation home over there and it's within that mileage proximity as a bird flies. So there are some regulations around it, but it just needs to make sense. If you live on the east side and your residence is in Redmond and you're trying to buy a second home in downtown Bellevue, an underwriter might question that because really you're going to drive 15 minutes to your second home. That wouldn't be considered a legitimate second home. So it just needs to make sense.
Gotcha. Obviously, if you were maybe on Woodby Island, right, or maybe on Bainbridge or something like that, yeah. But going all the way, going 15 minutes, yeah, I can see that. Okay, so can I convert a vacation home into a rental property, and do I have to refinance it?
Yeah, again, has come up recently too, and with my primary resident buyers as well. So like, how long do I need to live in a property before I can convert it to a different type? And really, we just need to watch the disclosures that you sign when signing loan documents. When you buy a primary residence or a second home for that matter, you're telling the lender that you plan to occupy that property for 1 year, or your intention is to occupy it for 1 year. Outside of that 1 year, it's really up to you. Circumstances change. You can convert it to a rental property if you want. And there's no need to necessarily refinance that loan. Like, of course, you need to check with your lender. Maybe you're on a portfolio loan or something that doesn't fit conventional financing. But on conventional FHA, VA loans, those loans don't typically require you to refinance when you convert it. However, if you do have a VA loan or an FHA loan and you convert it to an investment property, you can't then go out and reuse your VA benefits for another primary residence until you do refinance that property. So again, it's going to come down to your loan, but for your typical conventional home buyers, we buy as a primary residence, we live in it for a while, we then convert that to a rental and then move up to a larger home or maybe downsize to a smaller home, depending on where you're at in the life cycle. But yeah, it's perfectly acceptable to keep the loan that you have in place.
Yeah, and I think the point is this is when you go to apply for a loan, don't lie to your loan officer. Don't lie to try and get a better rate. If you are buying a property that is going to be a rental, you probably shouldn't sign a disclosure that says it's your primary residence. Correct?
100%. Yep. And they're going to check. It's pretty easy for us to check if you file income from a rental property on your tax return that same year, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. I wonder what the consequences are.
Yeah, mortgage fraud. They'll call that note due.
Oh, I see. Mortgage fraud causes it due. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's very interesting. All right. Okay. So I think that's all the questions I have. So what are the states that you're able to finance right now?
So we're licensed to do business in 48 states as a company. So Guild Mortgage helps people in every state except for like New York and New Jersey, the difficult states to get into. I think a bigger question is, where are we seeing these second homes purchased most frequently right now? And I would say it's the Gulf Shores. So Alabama, Tennessee, Texas, Louisiana, Florida, Arizona. Your sunny locations are where we're seeing most people buy these second homes for the most part.
South Carolina,
the big one, right, Dan?
Yeah, I have my second home there. Yeah.
Did you watch the RBC tournament there?
I actually played golf on that course the day before.
Oh, good for you.
So I set it up for him. I gave him some tips, let him know where to hit, where not to hit. So
nice. Told him it was a little challenge.
Where not to hit was the water, which is where I hit a lot.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Well, Tucker, thanks so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it. It's a great conversation. Vacation homes, it's time to start thinking about it. And please do reach out to Tucker. Like you said, he can help you in 48 states, maybe not directly, but there are agents that he works with. Same here. I know agent in every single city and state in the United States, and we can help you with your second home. We want to help you with your second home. So, all right, thanks a lot. We were going to come back after this short commercial break, where we are bringing on Brandon Brockway Ring from Key Inspection Services. Come back after this short break.